again, thank you for taking the risk of coming out and celebrating Festivus. It is completely absurd. It was meant to be whimsical and to allow you to express what needed to be expressed. The other thing that I was looking forward to today is that after everyone takes the mic, whoever takes the mic, we're going to draw the most ridiculous set of raffle tickets ever put together. And you will win what I think are some of the truly coolest door prizes ever. So the first winner is... If I ever have to do this again, I'll know what not to do. Gail, you won! Gail, you can go to the Festivus poll and pick out whatever gift you want. But you can't open it beforehand. You just have to pick a bag.
And then someone can steal it in the back?
No.
Okay.
No. You can trade.
Okay.
Yay! And then Kate, you're next, right?
Yes.
I remember that word. Okay. And now you are done with me. Thank you again for coming. May I welcome our president, Kate Lehman.
Never done with you. Hi everybody, welcome. Thank you so much for coming. It is so great to be in person. Sorry, we have to. For those who follow me, you must hold the microphone up to your mouth here. I'm here actually to give you a rundown of our feats of strength as a club for the last year, which I think actually, when I sat down to write this up this morning, and I had to go back over my calendar and everything, I was kind of shocked by what all we've done in spite of everything going on. So, and if you've noticed, there's a couple of 3-ring binder notebooks. Those are binders of women. Maggie, it's right here. If you could hold that up, that have some information in them about the things that we did. If you want to take a look through them, please do so. So harking back a year ago, we were online for our annual meeting. We had a special guest from the college, the director of the wellness for Smith, Christina Murray, and it was a really interesting meeting. In the summer, we did a paddle on the St. Croix, which was fabulous. It was a great day. A lot of people came, and we're probably going to do that again this summer. So I hope you'll think about that and watch for a notice. It's really fun. In November to December, we opted instead of doing the typical Smith Day fundraiser, we just did an online challenge, and we did amazingly well at the challenge. We were raising money for the Praxis internships. It was a smashing success, and it was even made even more of a smashing success by a special gift in memory of alumni Mary Taylor. We provided 4 $3,000 scholarships for Praxis, which is significantly more, and the treasurer will tell you this, than we had done in the past. So it really turned out very, very well. And Praxis, for those of you who may not be familiar with it, it allows students to take unpaid internships. And so students who might otherwise have to forego an unpaid internship experience can do it and not have to go get a summer job. So it's a really special thing to be able to do and have a really valuable experience.
Does anybody here have a Praxis?
Louisa Brett Miller had a Praxis. Yeah. I encourage you, if you want to find out more about it, go online onto the college website and look it up. It's very interesting. And the other sort of ongoing thing that we did was book discussions under the leadership of Barbara Kloss, who happens to be in England right now, so she couldn't be here. And we learned pretty early on in our book discussions that we could invite anybody from anywhere to participate in a Zoom call. And so we learned also that authors love to talk about their work. And so we learned just to ask. And when we would ask, they would usually say yes. So the results are really amazing. We have had best-selling authors join us for conversations throughout the year. In fact, most of our sessions had an author involved. And in a couple of instances, we were ahead of the National Alumni Association in choosing books and getting authors online with us. So just to run down the 6 books that we did last year, we did Band of Sisters with Lauren Willig, the author, as a guest. It was great. They later did that for the college. Homeland Elegies by Ayad Akhtar, who did not join us. In November, we did The Agitators with Dorothy Wickenden, who is the executive editor of the New Yorker magazine. She joined us. Another fabulous conversation. In January, we did a novel called If Only, by Judith Arnold, who's a best-selling, she's known as a romance novelist. I wouldn't call her books romances in the typical sense of the word. After all, she's a Smithy. She is Bobby Kyler of Class of '74, and she was with us. In April, we did the Book of Form and Emptiness with Ruth Ozeki, who is not only alum, but also on the faculty of the college. And coming up in just a couple of weeks, we're going to be doing the commencement with J. Courtney Sullivan, Class of '03. She will be joining us. And I would say also, if you're in those 2000 classes, I'd love to have you there, because I want to know if her impression is accurate or not. Could be a really interesting conversation. And then also coming up this fall, so that's in a couple of weeks on the 27th. And then coming up this fall, I've already contacted Meg Wolitzer, who went to Smith for a couple of years, then went to Brown and graduated from there. Too bad. But she's going to join us to discuss The Wife, which is a novel of hers that was then made into a film called The Wife with Glenn Close. So it's a great opportunity to talk about adaptation, and as well as some of the issues in that book. Throughout the year, the drum group kept the beat going, just kept going. And we thank Marisa, who is our leader teacher at Smiling Drum Studio, for sticking with us. And I have to add, we're missing a couple of people today, and we have our one-arm player today, because Holly Woodhall, who was out of town and just got back this morning and wasn't feeling very well, so she opted out. And then Barbara Klaas is off across the ocean, so we're a little thin today. But thanks anyway. If you are interested in joining us, please say hello to any of the drummers here and ask about it. We meet once a month, and we'd love to have more people. It doesn't take experience, and Jennifer, the one-armed drummer, can tell you she just ganged up with us a few months back and fit right in. It was great. The AACs are alumni admissions coordinators who don't report to the executive committee of the club. They report to the college, really. But they did a fantastic job. They kept working throughout the year, and we'll hear a little bit more from Sabrina very shortly. We also, last but not least, we launched the third edition, the process for doing the third edition of Strong Women, Strong Communities, which if you're not familiar with it, is we have two volumes of oral histories with Minnesota Smith alums, and we're starting on a third, and the interviewing process has just gotten underway. I think Holly was our first victim. And anyway, if you are interested in ordering a copy of the volumes 1 and 2, just send me an email. We got lots of volume 2 to sell if you want. Not so many of volume 1. They are based on oral histories that are collected by teams of interviewers, and we record them and then compile profiles We'll be doing this over the next several months and plan to have it ready for next spring, our third volume 3. So, all right, so we've got a couple of reports left to do. We're not going to take up a whole heck of a lot of time on this beautiful afternoon because we want to get back to having our Festivus. But Sabrina is going to tell us a little bit about how we did on the student recruiting front this year. Oh, I have to do it. That's right. Do it. All right. The winner is Colleen Wilson.
Yay!
So, yeah, I think so. Grab a bag, whichever one you feel so moved to.
Biggest one.
Yeah, pick whichever one. And Sabrina?
Okay, go for it.
Go.
Yeah.
Oh, Kate, watch.
Yeah.
How's that? How's that? How's that?
If you hold it straight, that's right.
It's not wireless. I don't need a microphone. How's that?
There. Yeah.
So this is kind of funny because I'm not a numbers person, but before I tell you all the wonderful results, I just want to thank everyone for either interviewing or reaching out to students or contacting schools or delivering books or presenting the book awards. You have all been amazing, and I apologize for the multiple emails. I will become more efficient, but we did great. Thanks to your help. So a few numbers. We had 104 applicants from Minnesota, and only 37 were admitted. So it's like you feel bad that these amazing students that you wrote these rave reviews about didn't get in, but then you think, oh right, that whole elite thing. So yeah, so 37 out of 104, you can do the math. Out of those 37, looks like 17 accepted. Their loss. So that means that 20 denied. And we don't know why, I mean, unless you know them personally, and I was curious, where did people go? So 5 stay close to home, they go to Carleton, McAllister, 2 went abroad to other English-speaking countries, and then 13 went to pretty prestigious schools, Yale, Williams. Can I say these things? Can I say these names? Because during the whole interview thing, you're not allowed to mention other colleges, so now I just really want to, where else are you applying? Yale, Williams, BU, Middlebury, Stanford, Berkeley. I mean, that's impressive. But we get 17 of them, which means that we will have 47 Smithies on campus next fall. Minnesota Smithies, sorry. Smithies from Minnesota, 47, and that is up 5 from last year. And the class of 22 saw 8 graduates. So let's just make sure we reel them in and keep them involved, and love to see, those faces at future events. So thanks for all your help.
Yeah. It's that table I'm thinking of. Yeah.
It's Diana, it is.
Amberly!
Yay!
Hi everyone. So you've already heard the biggest punchline from Kate already, but we did raise over $13,000 during the big push for Praxis. That was wonderful this year. Oh, sorry. We did raise over $13,000 for Praxis, so we were able to do all the ones that Kate already stole my thunder on.
Sorry.
The other good news is we had over 55 dues paying members this year, which is up from last year, so that's great. And some people even paid for next year, so keep that coming. So total funds, we had a net income of almost $3,000 this year versus only $600 last year. So we've got some funds in there to make sure we do some more fun things throughout the year. Treasury balance is about $26,000, so we are well endowed. Speaking of endowments, the Minnesota Scholarship Fund is $3.5 million. Well, sorry,
This was from last June 2021. So given the market recent performance, it's probably down from there, but I like that because it was up 32% over the prior year. And then the Smith endowment itself was $2.6 billion, up from 38% the prior year. But again, given recent market conditions, maybe lower next time we hear these numbers. But it's been a great year. Thanks for all your support, and every little bit helps. So thank you.
You have to do it right.
It's blank. Oh, last four digits. 2481.
Thanks.
And since you're not wearing a name tag, can we ask what your name and class is? You're blank. You're blank.
I'm Jennifer Olson. I'm class 02 social work.
Thank you.
And that actually gives me an opportunity, since I did, I'm Stephanie, class of 77, so it's actually my 45th reunion, to say I am just thrilled at the number of people who are here today who have never been at an event of ours before. So thank you all for taking a chance and coming out and doing something different. I mean, this is truly wonderful. Thank you. So I am the head of the nominating committee right now. We have Kate, who renewed last year for an extra 2 years, so she's got one more year as president. Our vice president is Andrea Smith, who agreed to stay on for an additional 2 years, which I have to say that particularly given the environment with COVID and everything, having this continuity has been extremely helpful and provides a level of stability we wouldn't otherwise have. Although I think, 3/4 of the way through this event, she's thinking, why did I say I would do 2 more of these? And that's just kind of how it goes, honey, you looped it. Our secretary, Crystal Larson, who I was expecting today, has not made it. She had actually been on for 2 terms as well. And then the nominating committee has 3 people, and they just rotate with the president going on when she comes on. So we are placing into nomination 3 people. For vice president, Andrea. For secretary, Liz Buckingham, class of 85. And for nominating, Catherine Gump, class of 84. So, does anyone want to nominate themselves for anything? Because we have to do this like official, like... No? All right, is all in favor of this slate of candidates, say aye. Aye. Any nays?
Nay.
It's that Festivus stuff coming through again, I gotta tell you. All right, well then, approved. And I will say, for those of you who haven't been involved before, one of the really best ways of getting to know people better in the club is to take a position in the executive committee. So next year we're going to have president and treasurer open. Our treasurer, Jennifer, has been on for 2 years. She can stay for 3rd, but anybody who can actually add, not me. I have numerical dyslexia. Don't put me near a checkbook. My husband actually had to develop a program to figure out what numbers I switched to be able to tell why the checkbook doesn't bounce. Please feel free to see myself or Kate. We'd love to know. Okay? So now I have to pick a raffle person, right? Before I do the next thing I have to do?
All right.
Okay. Oh, wait. I have to put my glasses on. Can't see a thing without them. This says Kirsten Raggets, who I owe an apology to because I missed her signing up for this, and so she had to handwrite her own name. All right, Kate, are you on or am I on?
Oh, I'm gonna, yeah.
Go ahead.
I'll call you back in just a second.
I'm fine.
Okay, so I'm going to close the formal business part of the meeting, and then we're going to move on to our very special kind of main event here. So just to remind you, I hope I see you online in a couple of weeks on the 27th for the book discussion, and especially if you're in the classes of the 2000s, as I say, I'm really interested in see what you think. You register for that event by, it's an Eventbrite registration, so we get a list of people, so you can do that through the website. If you haven't seen our website, we also owe thanks to Stephanie Ross, who maintains that for us. She couldn't be here today. And you can usually find ways to sign up for things or additional information at smithclubmn.org. We'll be choosing a date for the St. Croix paddle, probably in July, and hope so look for that. And I would like to thank everybody who made today possible, especially Andrea, for coming up with such a great idea. And for Stephanie Frost and Jennifer Whitaker for handling the registration process and all that. Jane Anderson Howard, thanks, special thanks for managing the Smith Medal process. And to all those who contribute time and money to keep this club going and to support Smith students. You know, the purpose of the club is to stay connected as alums, as well as to promote to prospective students and encourage them to attend the college. Talk to any of us that you've seen up here if you want to get involved in any way. Also, any ideas for things that events or other things that you might want to see happen. I've been sort of doing a little brainstorming in my own closed head about things I would love to talk with other alums about, especially for in the fall and winter time. So we're going to adjourn the formal meeting and then move on. So can I hear a motion to adjourn the meeting? So moved. Justina, thank you. A second? Second. Nikki, thank you. We are officially adjourned, and I'm going to turn it back over to Stephanie.
Thank you all. When we gave up Smith Day in the country, the event with the giant garage sale that some of you got many, many, many clothes from, including Nikki, growing up. I got this at a different garage sale because then there was no Smith Day and I didn't have anywhere to get my clothes. So when we gave that up, we chose to take a different approach that was Minnesota specific that other clubs have copied now, by giving a award to an outstanding alum. Not necessarily because of their involvement with the club, because their involvement in making the community a better place. This is our 5th, I believe now, award. And I am honored to be able to give this award because I actually nominated Peggy for this award, so she can blame me for having to say something. And the reason is that I've known Peggy since I got here. I'm not from here originally, and neither is Peggy. We're both from away. And away in a bunch of different places with a bunch of different experiences. We didn't come here till after Smith and after graduate work and after jobs. But Peggy has been an inveterate volunteer since the very start, even before she moved here. But when she got here, she was part of a variety of different groups. She got very involved with the League of Women Voters, which she's been part of like practically continuously since then. This has got to be over 40 years she's been doing League of Women Voters stuff. So that's an amazing commitment. So thank you so much. She raised her children. She stayed active. Good, then you can cut it out. You don't have to say it. You can talk less. She didn't want this award because she didn't want to talk. She's been trying to convince us to give it to someone else so she wouldn't have to say anything. So she was on a variety of boards in Golden Valley, and that gave her an appreciation for wanting to be in charge. So she ran for the Minnesota House of Representatives, which she won a seat and served in the House for 6 terms. And so what Peggy doesn't know is that during that time, I was offered a job at my work to go into government relations. And while I really loved the policy stuff, I was terrified. I thought legislators were all slime. But when I realized that Peggy was a legislator, I knew that there had to be good in the legislature. And so I took the job, and I've had it for 20 years, and I love it, and it's really great. So thank you, Peggy, for making it possible for me to feel okay about taking my job. After the legislature, she was appointed to the Metropolitan Council, for which maybe I'm not so happy, because we live in Lake Elmo, and we don't want to get into that here, because that's ugly. Okay, so that was on the front page of yesterday's Star Tribune. And then she was appointed to the Campaign Finance and Public Disclosure Board, which is another connection. If you Google me, the first thing you'll find is my $25 fine for having contributed during the legislature. Okay. I didn't know the rules, I'm sorry. She's actually profiled in our second oral history book, so if you want to read more about Peggy, you can read about her there. But actually, what makes me really proud of Peggy is she's been involved with the Smith Club for ages. She was president when I first started doing student raising, which is what we call it, and Lynn just reminded me that I actually interviewed her when she was applying to Smith. So that was back when Peggy was in charge. And her level-headedness really made me feel like I could actually maybe do what I thought I was going to be doing here. We worked on countless Smith days together, and your ability to find humor in drudgery was amazing. I really appreciated that. Behind all of that and all those wonderful volunteer activities and all the boards she's been on, conservation-type boards and nature-type boards and public health-type boards, she was never about like taking a cold walk on a September day around Worth Lake with our husbands and then going for a beer at Una Pills, or, you know, playing in the drum group. She's always up for a new adventure. I think the thing I'd say about Peggy is that she was leaning in before leaning in was a thing. And so as a closing example of what makes Peggy special that ties in with our theme of Festivus, when the pandemic hit and most of us who worked outside the home were locked down and couldn't go to work, Peggy started sending to an unknown distribution list. Today, I do not know who was on that list. A daily set of cartoons or videos or jokes. She kept this up every single day for months and months. By the time we were done, I think my last one is 247 on my computer, but there may have been more. And I can't tell you what a difference it made. We forwarded them on to friends in other countries, to neighbors and family. It was an amazing, amazing, if I were a church, I'd say ministry, but I'm not. So it was just an amazing gift to all of us. And that's the kind of person Peggy is. So it is with extraordinary honor that I give Peggy, but you can't keep it because apparently it still has to be engraved. Oh, good. A Minnesota Smith Club medal. And now to the point Peggy has dreaded saying something. Hold it close to your mouth and just make it short. They want to get another beer anyway.
Kate told me it would have to be 10 minutes.
Ignore her.
I just want to put this someplace where it's safe. Okay, watch your foot.
And I want to make sure I capture this, so hang on one second here.
Excuse me, I'm going to move this up so I'm not got the sun right in my eyes. I brought the wrong sunglasses, typical. All right. Is that okay? How does that work, all right?
Yeah. That's fine. That's okay. If you just hold the mic sort of to your mouth.
I have been told yes before. Yes. Okay, well, Stephanie, what can I say? You've said everything. However, I have to say thank you so much for this incredible honor. It's not working? Okay. Okay, all right. Thank you so much. And to say I was gobsmacked is really putting it mildly. And the reason is obvious. Just look around you. This place is full of smart, accomplished women who deserve this honor. I've been told that one of the reasons that I was selected for it was because I've done something that thus far no other Minnesota Smith woman has done, and that is to be elected to state office. I am the first, but I am hoping that I am not the last, and the next one is sitting here somewhere. I've now served, as Stephanie mentioned, on 3 very different state governmental boards. First the legislature, then the Metropolitan Council, and currently the Senate Campaign Finance and Public Disclosure Board. Okay, like this. And I'd like to compare the three, but I thought first that I would back up just a little bit and tell you how I happened to get there. When my husband and I moved to Minnesota in 1976 with our 3 very little children, it literally was flyover country for me. I grew up, as Stephanie mentioned, in California, where my mother's family all was located, and my father's family was all on the East Coast, and I used to make trips back and forth. And it was on one of those trips from New York back to San Francisco that the plane developed engine trouble, and it put down in Chicago for 3 hours. And that was a sum total of my experience in the Midwest until I was married. So when I arrived here, I knew nobody, and I didn't even know that there was a Smith Club. But I was familiar with the League of Women Voters because I had actually joined it at one point. And so I joined the Golden Valley League and did that so I could make friends and I could learn a little bit about my new community. For the next 14 years, I was very active with the League, and I learned a lot about our government and some of the important issues here. I also might mention that I learned some uniquely Minnesota expressions, like cold enough for you? Yeah. Or my personal favorite, 40 below keeps the riffraff out. However, it didn't work. But I digress. One of the reasons, one of the things that I did for the League on occasion was to lobby legislators. And I gained a lot of respect for most of them, but there were the occasional ones that I would leave their office thinking, I could do a whole lot better than that. So in 1990, my own state representative decided to retire, and he asked me if I would consider running for his seat. We had known each other because we had worked on some local housing issues together. It happened that at the time I was president of my class at Smith. And it was at our 25th reunion that year that I made up my mind and announced to the class that I was going to run for the legislature. And believe me, I couldn't back out after that. My work was cut out for me. I was a moderate, pro-choice Republican, and I had a well-liked, well-known, hard-working opponent. I walked my entire district twice, knocking on doors and introducing myself. And I have to admit, it was pretty hard to get out there and do that every day. But once I knocked on my first door, actually, it was kind of fun. There was also an unexpected bonus. It was the best exercise program I have ever had. I was also lucky to have an excellent campaign committee, which is an essential ingredient for a successful campaign, and in the end, as you know, we were successful. Serving in the legislature was a life-changing experience. As one of my colleagues told me shortly after I was sworn in, every committee I served on was going to be like taking a course in college. And that was especially true for me because I didn't grow up in Minnesota. And I was about to learn a lot about the state and the special characteristics and needs of the regions around the state. For this reason, one of my favorite committees was the bonding committee, because they would take periodic trips around the state to check out bonding proposals. And I loved that. That was really fun. Now I'm going to have to put this down because I'm going to change pages. Excuse me. I don't want them to go flying off, so. I will say I will say that most of all, I enjoyed helping people in ways that would not have been possible before. For instance, if a constituent came to me and said they were incredibly frustrated trying to deal with some state agency. And it was amazing the reaction I would get when I would pick up the phone, call that agency and say, "This is Representative Peggy Leppik, and I have a constituent with a problem." Somehow that problem got solved really fast. And that felt so good. Keep in mind, it's called constituent service, and every legislator strives to deliver. On to, what are they called, grievances? My caucus, when I was first elected, had the full spectrum of opinions on a number of controversial issues. And we were each accepted and supported as representing the positions of our districts. I felt comfortable as a Republican in a way that I can't feel now because things have changed. I think it started with the so-called not a drop legislation here in Minnesota at any rate. This legislation required that legislators had to pay for their refreshments if they attended an event that was sponsored by lobbyists. And while it's true if you like raw broccoli and chicken wings, we ate okay. But what was really important was that these events afforded a relaxed opportunity for legislators to get together socially, get to know each other, and be able to work together more easily in the future. When they had to pay for these events, a lot of legislators decided it just wasn't worth it and they stopped going. Recognizing the loss of these social opportunities, a few legislators tried to put together their own events, but it was too late and they never really took off. The result was a sharp drop in across the aisle contacts and friendships, which had served to blunt the harsher aspects of partisanship. And that loss has been both in friendships and in governance. Since I retired in 2003, for many reasons, the partisanship has only gotten worse. I've often been asked if I missed being in the legislature, and my honest answer is no. I miss the people. I don't miss the work or the place so much. Whether colleagues, or staff, or lobbyists, I value those friendships that I made then, and some of us 20 years later still keep in touch. Looking back, one of the most life-changing aspects of being in the legislature was the doors that it opened. Shortly after I retired, Governor Pawlenty appointed me to the Metropolitan Council, where I served for 8 years. It was very different from the legislature. Now I think of it as the organization that people love to hate. But that wasn't the case then. I liked being in a part of government that where I didn't have to fundraise and campaign. And it took less time because it only met twice a month. It was also more focused in its work, covering only the 7-county metropolitan area, and it was involved in the planning and sometimes the operation of systems of transportation, wastewater, water, parks and trails, and housing. Another difference with the legislature was the nature of our discussions. Because the entire 17-member Metropolitan Council is appointed by the same governor, there were differing opinions, but not the same partisan political arguments and rhetoric found in the legislature. In fact, this is exactly why some people want to make the Metropolitan Council elected, or at the very least, have staggered appointments to allow for a wider variety of perspectives. You'll know everything I said if these blow away, believe me. Okay, the Campaign Finance and Public Disclosure Board is another animal entirely. The 6-member board is specifically designed to have a balanced political representation, with no party having more than 3 members. So, oops, sorry. I will back up. The Campaign Finance and Public Disclosure Board is specifically designed to have a balanced political representation. And no party can have more than 3 members on the board. One of those members has to be a former DFL legislator, and currently that's Carol Flynn. Sorry. Oh. This ought to be tied around my neck, you know? And another must be a former Republican legislator, and currently, obviously, that's me. Interestingly, though, Carol and I are the only women on the board, and we are the only non-attorneys. We do add a different perspective. We also meet only once a month, and the executive director always brings donuts. This is where you come in. Not about the donuts, but public service. Public service, whether elected or appointed, is fundamental to a democracy, and it's also highly gratifying work. I know that some of you are serving or have served on boards and commissions, and some of you have even run for office. And I sincerely thank you. Our government needs good people to step forward and offer their time and talents and run for office from the local to the national. And there's not a person here who doesn't have the talent. So please seriously consider offering your time and run for office. It's actually more fun than you might think, and help is abundantly available. All you need is determination, a good committee behind you, and a tough hide never hurt. I may have been, I may have been the first Smithy to serve in the legislature, and I certainly don't want to be the last. So if you're interested in running for office, please talk to me. My door is always open. Thank you so much.